bet you can't do that with a quarter.
Are you kidding? Sure I can.
I'll give you a dime for every quarter you can lay on end.
It's a bet. Hey, you got any quarters?
Sir!
How you doing?
Hi, can I get a Miller, please?
You got it. Out of 20.
3, 4, 5. 5 is 10. 10 is 20. Thank you.
Next. Okay, Ace. In a row.
Yep, right. That's a...
Okay, that scene definitely deserves better signal than I have. I'm up here in the woods, so it did not come through the way I had wanted, but I'm going to play it in just a second. Let me just roll that up. In the meantime, I'm Brian O'Shea. Welcome to another impromptu episode of Investigate Everything. Today we're going to be talking about scams and scams beyond, John Cusack in a great movie called The Grifters. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. But let's think about something, okay? I think there's like 14, 15 seasons of American Greed. And what is American Greed all about? It's about ripping people off, winning their trust and ripping them off. Well, I gotta say, what's happening now is just as bad as what was happening in the last 4 years. Not at the presidential level. I'm a big fan of Donald Trump, and so far so good on the man. However, I guess the difference was with a lot of the cabinet, we didn't trust anyone in the Biden administration going in. We weren't expected to. They stole the election clearly. But with the new Trump administration, there seem to be elements at the cabinet level that are grifters. We'll go into that a little in detail. I'm going to save some of that for something else I'm working on. But today was one of those days where it just kind of was a bit overwhelming. Like just how much scamming, lying, manipulation of the media. And yes, I know it's nothing new, but the problem is I've been working on a case all day that's all about kind of a fraudulent type of online pharmacy deal. Okay, so, and I can't release that here. It's a totally different thing, separate from Daily Clout. But the point is, when you look at this stuff all day, man, it's a little depressing. And that's why I wanted to do an episode today. I wasn't going to, but I needed a break. I've been working on this for quite a few days with the guy that's working with me. And I just needed a break, so I wanted to talk to you all because I always do feel better after I do these episodes with you. And I love your comments, and the people that tune into this show, they seem to get it. So, all right, let me just play that scene again, and then we'll roll right into it. Not that it really pertains so much to the show, but it's a good scene. And this is what real grifters are. But whether they're in a slick suit stealing dollars for quarters, or they're wearing a white lab coat, or they're pretending to be journalists, or they're shouting into a microphone about why you should trust them just because they're an influencer. We're going to get into all that, but let me call this up. Forgive the ads. It's YouTube, but let me just get that rolling and I'll play it for you. So if you haven't seen it, you can see it because it's definitely worth a watch. And once you understand grifting and fraud and scams, you'll realize that no matter what level they're at, they're all the same thing. It's about trust. It's about trust and targeting people that are gullible, targeting people that get lazy, targeting people that don't investigate everything. And it might seem tiresome, and you don't want to live your life that way. I hear a lot from people that I don't want to live my life having to check everything out. Well, you kind of have to, because the rest of the world does. And America, we've had it easy, but there's a lot of scammers here. Some of them can cost you $1, and some of them can cost you your life. So let's give this another whirl here, and then we'll go right into the show right after I play this, just because I love this scene. So definitely stick around. There we go.
Bet you can't do that with a quarter.
Are you kidding? Sure, to bet. Hey, you got any quarters?
Sir!
How you doing?
Hi, can I get a Miller, please?
You got it. Out of 20.
3, 4, 5. 5 is 10, 10 is 20. Thank you.
Next.
Okay, Ace. 10 in a row.
Yep, you're right. $1.
Hey!
That was you. Dime for every quarter.
That is a great scene. Let me just shut that off. That is a great scene, but it just goes to show you. So what are the elements there? Okay. Look at John Cusack in that scene. He's dressed like everyone else in what looks like a Wall Street bar. He's got a suit. He's got a clean haircut, fresh haircut. He looks like one of them. And if you ever watch American Greed, you'll notice like most of the people that get scammed tend to be people that don't check things out. Like you don't see a lot of like construction workers getting scammed on that show. You don't see a lot of farmers. Sometimes it happens, but typically the scams you see on that show are kind of the upper middle class. Not to pick on the upper middle class, but what I am saying is what happens, and I saw this on an episode, it was a Ponzi scheme. This guy rolls into town and he's just like, hey, invested my deal here. And everyone did. Or kind of like Madoff. Everyone just invested. Why? Because he's a known quantity. And that's how a scam works. You could get these petty scams like John Cusack's doing, but he's still using trust. And he's using his knowledge of class to really infiltrate that bar, which he obviously doesn't belong in, and get people to trust him. Now, if he'd walked in there dressed like me, wearing a t-shirt and jeans, that probably wouldn't have worked. The little $10 switcheroo probably wouldn't have worked. Of course, if he wore that suit into a biker bar or trucker bar, it wouldn't have worked either because he's just different. So what's the point of me saying this? The point of me saying this is no matter what we're talking about, whether it's online, whether it's in person, look for the signs. Look for the person you like right away. Look for the person who's trying to sell you something, but you like them right away. And ask yourself why. Why do I like someone I've never met? Maybe it's someone online or you meet in person. And this has been my golden rule in life. If I like someone right away when I meet them, whether it's an employee, an employer, a third-party consultant, I normally will check them out even more because I've learned over the years that the more I like someone, the more they're going to screw me over. Why is that? Well, the reason why that is because when they do, you go back to why you like them so much. Why do we connect so much? It's because they're salesmen. And that's what scam artists are. And I don't care who they are. I don't care what level they're at. It's because they're salesmen. Now, the left, they have a really big problem because they blindly trust anyone who wears a rainbow flag or puts a Ukraine sign in their front lawn. They just blindly trust him. I know this because I've got a bunch of profiles across social media, across Blue Sky, and some are me, and some are, you know, the 34-year-old off-Broadway actor with 5 cats who has a rainbow flag and a Ukraine flag up. That profile on Blue Sky got hundreds of followers in the first day. I just said some bad things about Trump and, you know, said free Ukraine, free Palestine, and instantly I won the trust. But you see, the same thing is true on the right. And I've seen this with businesses that cater to the right on the so-called parallel economy, where they're using a lot of imagery of American flags, and this business is a, you know, disabled veteran-owned business. And people just trust him. And I know this because we had, I won't say who they are, but we had a vendor that came to us from a third party kind of like agent. It's a company that will connect us with affiliate sponsors like you see me advertising. And they're supposed to do due diligence on these companies. Thank God I do, because I was asked to do this ad read. I looked at the company and I was like, there's like at least 5 American Eagles on the front page. And it's veteran owned. But see, the first thing I noticed was the name was ridiculous, first of all. The second was veteran owned. So I want to see who the veteran is. I'm a veteran. I'm a disabled combat veteran. I want to see who that is, because if they're lying, I'm going to own their, I'm going to own that ass. You know, so I go, and this is the part where you want to take out your pen and take some notes if you're not sure how to do this. The first thing I do is I go to the webpage that they'd set up for us. Looked pretty normal, pretty, you know, pretty cheap. But I go to the About page for any company, and if there's no people in the About page, that's your first red flag. Now, the second red flag was pretty easy. I go to their main page, not our page they'd made for us, quite quickly, I'll say. I go to their main page, and they have all of our contributors already on the page being quoted saying things about their company that we'd never said, myself included. Immediately, I hit the roof. I went deep on this one, found criminal charges, found out the LLC was dissolved. It was a, I don't think I'm supposed to swear, but I will anyways, shit show, okay? It was a totally fraudulent company. Thank God that I'm OCD about this stuff. And you have to be too, with every little thing. So where do you go to, you know, how do you spot scams? Well, I'll just grab the paper. Now, I don't care which paper it is. It could be New York Times, it could be New York Post, but let me call up just what I saw just in the New York Post from yesterday. And I just kind of grabbed this off my table on the way over to do this show. All right. So you get to the cover, which is hilarious, by the way. I've got to say, whether you like the New York Post or not, the there we go. The headlines are hilarious. So this one says African American meets Native American, Mamdani and Warren in Liars Summit. That no truer words have been said. Now we're not going to go into that, but I'll read the little short here. It says most national Democrats have refused to endorse socialist Zohran Mamdani for mayor, but he does have one ally, Elizabeth Warren, who appeared by his side yesterday. The two share the belief that bigger government is the answer to everything, and that lying about your ethnicity on your college application is perfectly fine. I got to give it up to the New York Post. They got that one totally right. What's another one? You just turn the page here. All right. Turn the page, and what do you see? Well, you see, let me make this screen bigger. There you go. That's better. Okay, you turn the page here, and you get to a few, and I actually really enjoy the New York Post. It's kind of full of stuff that no one else reports on. Really horrible stuff that's happening in New York City, mainly. Ironically, when you're down in Brooklyn and where we have a place in the very working class part of Brooklyn, you can't get newspapers. You can't get the New York Times or the New York Post. So that's pretty telling. You have to walk forever to get them. You can get all sorts of other things that the Democrats own, but you can't get anything else. So you go a few pages in. Oh, here we go. Let me get there. And here's another scam. Smells a bit fishy. Schools spend $745,001 years at eatery. Let me just give you the brief here. East Fusion Restaurant in Brooklyn has been ranking in huge money from school orders on items like jerk chicken, but owner Andrew Walcott insisted he has no political connection. So this story goes on to show how, like, regardless of the food he's serving, he's only there because he has political connections. This is especially alarming, guys, because that's your kid's food. My own... No! Don't tell me you can't hear anything. Okay, Blue Wolf, give me a thumbs up. Can you hear anything? Because someone just said they can't hear anything. Is that true? Have I been talking? God, everything's on. Everything is on. I hope you're incorrect. Okay. Hey, Blue Wolf, do me a favor. Give me a sign here if you can hear me. Actually, let me just try this. No, I guess sound. I've got it. I got my Twitter over here, and thanks, Blue Wolf. I appreciate it. Hey, me, Fairlef, check your sound. But thank you. I appreciate that, because she's right, or he's right. I have gone on for like an entire diatribe many times. It's become a running joke on the show. All right, so there it is. It's your food. Thanks, man. Blue Wolf says I'm good. Okay, so you turn the page again. This is where you get depressed, and this is why. Yeah, I recommend everyone just take some time off social media. I've been taking a lot of time off social media because I do have this new project going on. I legally can't talk about it too much on Daily Clout because I have no affiliation with it. But I'll talk about that at the end of the show. So you keep going, and then the thing about the Post is you got to look at these little articles, like those little tiny ones. They're not trying to hide it. It's just they have limited room because half the paper is sports, which my son really appreciates about this. Okay, where are we here? Let me see. We got a shooter kills 2 at LA Rager. Of course, you won't see that on the legacy media. Sexless cop vows to ticket. I got to read this one. I don't have an image of it, unfortunately. I wasn't going to read it, but I'll just show you. This one's interesting. A Texas cop vowed to give everyone a ticket after she didn't get lucky the night before, according to a since-deleted TikTok. The Post showed uniformed Harris County Constable Precinct 5 Deputy Jennifer Escalera writing on a notepad with the caption, "Didn't get cracked last night." That's a new verb I've never heard. Cracked. Didn't get cracked last night. So everyone is getting a ticket. A nod to her apparently unfulfilling sex life. The cop blurred parts of her uniform but left her name tag visible in the Post. The incident is under investigation. Our administration is aware, and Internal Affairs has an open investigation. So I don't really know much about that story, but I guess that just goes to show you if you have a very angry police officer giving you a ticket and you don't deserve it, you might want to hand them a dating app or something like that. Okay, there's more here, and then I'll call this up. And I know you guys will appreciate this because everyone has been looking at Palantir. Okay, well, let me just put it up so you can start reading it. Okay. So right down there in the corner, this one definitely caught my eye. Smart money on Palantir. Palantir Technologies Monday raised its annual revenue forecast for the second time this year. Expecting robust demand for its AI-linked services from businesses and government. Initially backed by the CIA, the company has capitalized on its expertise in managing and analyzing data to help train and run new artificial intelligence apps using its platforms. Just let that simmer for a second. Palantir projected revenue in the range of $4.14 billion to $4.15 billion for 2025. What does Palantir do? Palantir essentially was contracted by the government to spy on Americans. And if you heard what that article says, it says, this is the scary part. To help train and run new artificial intelligence apps using its platforms. Its platforms are surveillance. So basically, they're increasing in value, which means more contracts when you're a government contractor, because they're going to have AI actually do the surveillance. That's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait till that happens because, what a great idea. Let's have AI do surveillance and report in and say, hey, this guy's doing this and this guy's doing this. And I'll tell you why that is upsetting. I was a little late getting on the show tonight because I was using ChatGPT, and I use it for image generation, typically. And I gotta say, it's kind of nice for that kind of thing because it is very obedient, but at the same time, it just kind of doesn't. It doesn't always get it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if this is going to be doing our surveillance, we got a problem. So check this out. Let me see if I pull this one up here for you about Palantir. So this is frustrating, but I just have to share it because it was kind of funny. Okay, and this is the whole thing I went through here. So, okay. So the way, if you're not using AI, this is how it works. I said, please make PNG image for an episode of Investigate Everything titled this episode. It should be an illustration of scams involving phone fraud, healthcare fraud, government fraud, and even dating fraud. The illustration should be the lower half, and the image attached should be in the top half. It's pretty clear. Not bad. Okay, first one came out, not bad at all. Problem is, I didn't put the dimensions. Not ChatGPT's fault. Here's your episode image. It's all happy. It's all proud of itself. And I say, can you make this image a JPEG with the dimensions of, maybe that's my fault, but 324 times 180. So it comes out with this. Scams abroad. Investigating everything has never been more important. So I said, okay, it must include investigate everything across top. Please reduce the font size. I'm trying to help out here. Okay, investigating everything has never been more important. Image created. Now it says investigate every scams abound. I don't know what the hell that was. So I said, please reduce the font size of investigate everything and spell it correctly. Don't change anything else besides reducing the font size of investigate everything. It should fit on one line and spelling it correctly. Then it spits this out. I don't know who the hell this guy is, but I guess that's me. This isn't bad. This is still incorrect. This is incorrect. Okay, and this is a relatively easy command. Now, granted, yes, I know it's ChatGPT. It's not at the level of Palantir systems. But can you imagine? Think of the implications of this, right? AI learns as it collects. So if they're having AI do surveillance using cameras around cities or whatever, it's going to be kind of bad, because if it's a new AI agent, let's just say, or they're using the system they kind of have to use the live system to train their agents. Agents are kind of like bots you make in AI to do like tasks that are routine and were more advanced. Basically, you can make an army of robots. But can you imagine, like, if it's like a new AI agent that doesn't recognize the difference between, I don't know, a jaywalker and a mugging? They're going to be like sending cops all over the place. And yes, guys, I don't care if they say CIA. And I know I always say CIA doesn't do things in the country. I've never seen it. It doesn't make sense that they would. But all the agencies are using this, okay? And all the agencies share data. So what if it says, hey, go get Brian O'Shea. He's bad, okay? And then they get Sam here, or whoever the hell that is, who looks like me. Not really, but kind of. And, I just see a real mess with this. Or what if it has learned that if you spot a terrorist with a bomb launch, a drone strike in downtown DC, and it mistakes a guy carrying a bomb for a lady with a baby stroller? I mean, this would seem ridiculous to me years ago, but I've got to say, I've been playing around with just ChatGPT, the 4.0 version, the paid version, and it's pretty amazing what this thing can do. I find it useful. I would never use it for research because the research is very biased. That I will tell you right away. Depending on which AI you use, you can find things or you can't find things. So I'll just say that. But that's a scary thing, that Palantir article. And that's why I wanted to point it out to you. Now, the other one I got, this is really terrible. And but I've got to put it up because I feel like of all the countries on Earth, or all the people on Earth, the Brits are just getting abused by a lot of people from Muslim countries. That's not being racist. That's being factual based on what we're seeing. And I was just in the UK recently, but this one was terrible. Look at this. Parasailing sex attack on UK mom. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Kids shouldn't be watching at 10:30 at night, but basically what happened is this woman does a parasailing thing in Africa, I'm guessing Morocco. And she's 52. She straps into the harness to this paragliding thing. We actually have it over here in the Hudson Valley. And it's kind of like the jumping where like the instructor kind of is latched to you. And this guy starts like groping her while they're in midair. Now, I imagine that Starmer, the leader of the UK, is not going to say anything. He'll probably arrest the woman for saying something or for making that poor Muslim man feel very, very bad. But this is pretty damn horrible. So, again, certainly not blaming the victim. This is terrible, but you really just can't trust anything in the world, and you never really could. But you just have to, I would have never thought to do some due diligence on a parasailing company on vacation, but sure damn right I'm going to, because can you imagine being, 2,000 feet in the air and this dude starts feeling you up, and it's like, what are you going to do? Like unstrap yourself from the harness and fall to your death? Absolutely horrible. I'll end the New York Post one with this. One thing I love about the New York Post is my favorite page on the New York Post, and you can call me a wimp or whatever. I'm a big dog guy. But at the end of every, right before you get to the sports, they always have the cutest puppies. I think they're the same puppies that have been there for years, but these puppies are adorable. And so I always save that for the end, because right where I'm stressed out, you get to see little puppies. Got a Maltese puppies that they're selling, some Shih Tzu puppies, and of course the Yorkies. And puppies are big business in New York City. So that's where I always like to end the New York Times. It's fantastic. All right. So then we go on. Okay. And of course, this is my favorite scam. This one just came through today. I've been getting these for a while. Maryland State, this went to my phone at 4:00. Maryland State Department of Vehicles final notice. Enforcement penalties begin August 7th, tomorrow. What am I going to do? Our records show that as of today, you still have an outstanding traffic ticket in accordance with Maryland state, whatever. By the way, it's not a real administrative code. If you do not complete payment by August, anyways, it goes on. They're going to report to the DMV violation database, which that's the biggest tell right there, because they're supposed to be the DMV, but they're going to report. So they slipped on that one. Suspend your vehicle registration starting August 7th. I don't have a vehicle registered in Maryland. Suspend driving privileges for 30 days. It doesn't work like that. Transfer to a toll booth and charge a 35% service fee. As I'm reading this, you could see like the English is freaking terrible. You may be prosecuted and your credit score will be affected. Yeah, that's not how our system of criminal justice works. So you don't. This is and that should be an indicator to you guys when the scam is talking about something like that. Let me shut off that banner so you can see. When a scam is talking about something like this, you may be prosecuted and your credit score will be affected. What does that sound like? Which country or circle of countries has a system where your credit score and your criminal record and your very life are all intertwined? Oh yeah, that's right, China. The social credit system. That's exactly what that is. But it's supposed to be Maryland DMV. The rest of it says, please pay. Please, now they're saying please. Please pay immediately. Pay now. That's, as you can see very clearly, that is the DMV official website. Please pay immediately before enforcement to avoid license suspension and further legal disputes before enforcement. This is enforcement if it was real. To activate the link, reply yes, and close and reopen this message. I mean, here's the thing is, like, I know a lot of people that would do this. They'd be like, oh my God, now why am I getting this from Maryland? I used to live in Maryland. I was up there at Fort Meade on a contract for several years at no such agency. And I have a phone with a 410 area code. That is Maryland. That's the only reason I get these. And I've been getting a lot of them lately. I don't know what's changed, but I've been getting a lot of these kind of messages. I'm very careful with my phone. I shut off my Bluetooth. I tend not to even carry my phone around anymore. I don't even leave it upstairs at night now when I sleep, because I know the damn thing's going to hear my snoring and start selling me CPAPs. But the thing is, I've been getting a ton of these. So if you guys have any insight on what the hell's going on, but it seems like in the last 3 months, I've been getting a ton of them. These scams that come in over my phone. Okay. And then just to put icing on the cake, I know this is so depressing. I'm just talking about bad stuff. I'm looking for those images that I sent myself on my Daily Clout email. This is my wife's company. And of course, Daily Clout's been suspended for breaking the rules. Check this out. Because Naomi talked about native path. Okay, everyone else does. It's okay if Temu is on there from China selling fake fraudulent goods. But because she posted this, that's bad, apparently. Now, just so you know, Vigilant Fox had reached out to me. I know he's a good guy. He's a friend. But he'd reached out to me because this was happening over there at Vigilant News. And, he actually has done, if you go over to his feed, he actually did some research. He believes this is a person in charge of an investment, like one of these amateur investment groups that is invested in certain companies that are getting contracts right now from the government that are mRNA companies. So anytime Naomi talks about mRNA and the dangers of it, we get these violations. How's that equate to scams? Because it's not a legitimate complaint. That's a scam too. Okay. All right, let me take a quick break here as I pull up some other stuff. Let me look at the comments. Oh, thanks. A lot of people on here tonight. Thank you so much. Looks like we have a bunch from YouTube, Twitter, everything. Unfortunately, I don't see a lot of the comments. So if you do have a comment, definitely drop it in. This is feeding through an aggregator, so I don't always see all the comments from all the different platforms. But it is good to see Blue Wolf and Me Fair Laugh. I like that. And everyone else, because I have more than 3. There's like almost 2,000 watching right now, according to my ticker. But that's okay. If you have comments, you could always email them to me. All right. Before I go much further, I do want to talk about Good Day when I find my collagen. I do promote my sponsors because I like my sponsors. Now, the difference between me and several other influencers that I won't mention here, I actually use the products. Like, this is collagen, as you can see. That one's done. This is and this is all from Native Path. Let me call that up. There we go. Yep. This is my Native Hydrate, which unfortunately is empty. And that's also where I set my coffee spoon in the morning while I'm making my coffee with my collagen. Point is, I actually use these things, and that's why I like them. And I really put a lot into promoting them, and I'll tell you why. Because A, they're good companies, and they make me feel good. They make me feel healthy. Collagen is definitely one of the most important things you can put in your body, and so is good hydration with amino acids and electrolytes as soon as you wake up in the morning. That has low carbs and is packed with vitamins. This stuff makes me feel so good. This is the Native Hydrate. And by the way, if you guys ever want to donate to me and my work, as I always ask for on my Substack, if you want to send me some Native Path, you can do that too. That is a definite thing I will be happy to get. The collagen is fantastic. I hope I'm not overdosing on collagen, but I find I'm putting it in stews now. I'm putting it in my coffee. I put it in everything. They say 1 scoop a day. I'm taking like 3. But yeah, check them out. You want to go to getnativepath.com/dailyclout and stock up. They have subscription type things too. You're going to want to do that. And then use promo code dailyclout if you don't use that URL. You could also use the promo code everything as well. Okay, and then our other sponsor is the Wellness Company, I like the Wellness Company. I can't say enough about them. All my stuff around here is Wellness Company. I didn't even know who they were when Naomi got them as sponsors. And then since then, I've just had like the CEO on the show. I just like them. I like the fact that my ex-host, JJ Carroll, who's a very good friend of mine, his face was all mashed up because he had some surgery. And I actually said on the show, hey, shoot me a text, Wellness Company, and if you can be willing to give JJ a call and make sure he's taking care of his face properly, that'd be great. And they did. Next day, he got a call from the doctor. He couldn't believe it. He's like, wow. And they didn't even charge him. They also gave free telehealth down there to the Hurricane Katrina people. It's a good company. And that's really important because there's a rise of online pharmacies. Okay. And in my opinion, and based on my purchasing experience with the Wellness Company is the real deal. They have real doctors. They have real responsibility. They take their business very seriously. But I'm seeing a lot of grifters, and they are grifters, popping up, getting major names as influencers to promote their product, which is kind of silly because the level of some of these influencers promoting this other online pharmacy is laughable because we know damn well they're not using them. There's no way, not at their level. But the thing is, here's a big discovery, and I can't say the name of it here because it's unaffiliated with the other thing I'm working on. But it will be public soon. Okay, this company who's got all these patriots and all this America First, everything like that, and some big patriots, good people. Not most people aren't going to do the due diligence on the company they support like I do. Guess where their ivermectin's sourced from? If you said China, you're correct. So, yeah, that ain't going in my body. And when you look at these websites, I don't know, man. I mean, to me, and the Wellness Company's freaking awesome. You just go there, you got Dr. Drew, you got Dr. McCullough. I mean, you can't do any better than their doctors. Harvey Risch, Dr. Harvey Risch, Dr. Hadar. These are good doctors in a variety of different medicines. And they also are responsive. That's the key thing. If we call the CEO and we say, hey, we have some people that said an order was a little late or something, they're on it. But this other company, it's not the only one. There's several out there. Like, I'm looking at their products and I'm looking at their quick response. And then I'm looking at their pharmacists. And, well, I'll just put it this way. One of them looks like he might be 200 years old. Another thing I looked at with this company is not this one, just our company, but this other competitor is, they keep saying all their doctors and everything. They don't have any. They have one in all 50 states, one guy writing all those prescriptions. So I'm not going to say that the initials are AFP, but did I just say that? But yeah, anyways, you have to be careful with who you get your medicines from. Just because they have American flags, just because they're saying disabled, veteran owned, just because they say America first, just because they have people you see on Rumble promoting their products, people you trust, do your own investigation. Okay. And I would even say investigate our sponsors and make sure they're legit. Don't take my word for it. That's what I've always said on the show. That's why the show is called Investigate Everything. The minute you let your guard down and you start trusting because someone was good in the past, you're going to get screwed. Okay. And we had a saying in consulting that you're only as good as your last job. That goes for presidents. That goes for carpenters. You have to constantly check the work a third of the way through the project to make sure they're on it. Because, look, there's a tendency when people are not being policed, when they're not being scrutinized by their customers. Let's say in office, that would be the American people are the customers, the elected officials are the consultants. When they're not being scrutinized, they tend to slack off. Look what just happened in Maine on my last episode. I think they wanted to hire this guy for whatever reason, but no one in the entire chain of command spoke up, because one of two things probably would have happened. They were the people that would have spoken up would have gotten fired, because that's how it was under the Biden administration. And Maine has gone like totally Marxist. It's my hometown too. It's really sad. But the other thing is, people up there in Maine, they've been getting away with these the governor from Janet Mills on down. They've been getting away with a lot of stuff, dare I say illegal stuff, at every level of the government. And I know because we went up there and Naomi was speaking and they tried to ban her from speaking, even though we had a permit. And it was a just because type answer. So the thing is, it's like you get away with things so long. You just keep doing it. And then when a new sheriff is in town, that being Donald Trump, everyone's shocked. Like, oh my God, what do you mean we can't hire an illegal alien from Jamaica on overstayed visa who's most likely part of a international crime syndicate that sells illegal weapons in and out of the rest of the Caribbean nations and all the way down to Colombia? What do you mean we can't hire him to be a police officer to serve and protect American people? We used to be able to. See, that's the thought process here. Okay, at the basic level. Could be some other skullduggery. I think at that Chiefs level, she looks like she was in love. But the point is, you have to investigate everything. So, and let me just disappoint you in advance. In advance, I will say, when you do your due diligence on Native Path and on the wellness company, you're going to be bored, because the worst investigations, most boring investigations, are the ones where you don't find anything bad. And by the way, if someone called Laughable Polly or whatever, something like that, is on some Twitch or whatever, saying they're bad because I said so, mark them in your notebook too and check them out, because they're probably paid influencers. You're not going to find that. The best investigations are when you find really bad things, because it's just more interesting. And as a person who does this for a living, this is really sad, but clients hate it when I turn in a a report that doesn't have any bad things in it. Like when I'm doing this for mergers and acquisitions, which are my main clients from my past business, when I'm doing this for even lawyers, when you don't find anything bad, they get really disappointed. They're like, "You didn't find anything?" I'm like, "No, you have everything I found. That they're squeaky clean. They're good company." And they're like, And then those are the clients that never attempt to rehire me. The only ones that rehire me are the ones that hire really bad people or make really bad deals, and then they need me. So that's what we're looking at there. So what else do we have that's scammy? Okay, this won't come as a surprise to you, but this one really caught my attention today. And this one really pissed me off. So I don't know if you guys heard about Big Balls. Apparently Big Balls, who is actually his real name is Edward Korestein. He's part of the Doge crew, and he was apparently, guess what happened in DC is a bunch of these thugs, you know, whether they're 14, whether they're 18, it seems like a whole range of them, were going to carjack them, him and his girlfriend. And he, I guess, shoved her into the car. So it's murky, the details, but he got he got jumped by like 10 to 12 people, and they pounded the hell out of them. It's pretty bad. And so, of course, as expected, the left-wing media, the legacy media, is, basically trying to undermine what happened and saying, "Oh, Trump is exaggerating," because President Trump basically said, "Hey, we're gonna federalize law enforcement in DC. This is too much," and it is. It's bad. DC's always been bad on crime, horrible on crime. I know. I used to live there. I used to live right adjacent to the zoo, and most of my jobs were down in Southeast. So if you know DC, you know Southeast, not where you want to go. Okay, so this is Big Balls. For those who I've never heard of him. I can't imagine you haven't. But yeah, he there we go. Yeah, so that's him. All right, let me take the wellness company down. And it sounds like he was fighting back, and that's good. No one should ever give him a problem for that. But he got jumped, and it was clear that this was a mob. And so then, what happens next is, of course, legacy media, this time the New Republic, they have to be the idiots they are. And let me just say this. I would say that the saddest thing about this story is it's sad that he got jumped, but it's sadder that there's so much hatred, from the left, and don't get me wrong, the right has their share too, that we're not celebrating heroes anymore. We're jailing heroes. You got Daniel Penny. You got so many people defending themselves, and they're making fun of them. And it's okay because there's a Doge guy. We used to celebrate heroes. Hell, there were so many songs about heroes. I mean, from the Foo Fighters to Laura Branigan. Like, what the hell is going on in this country where we don't celebrate heroes? And everyone should be celebrating this guy because he fought back, just like Daniel Penny fought back on that subway, just like so many people do. And what I find with a lot of people, maybe center right or on the right, is, yeah, they'll celebrate them, but there's a lot of people too that, they just won't say anything because they can't do that, and it's like, it's just really sad. So I had to respond to this guy. So I'm just going to read my response to you because I think it was warranted. And let me actually just read the actual article to you too. I think that's important first. But basically the article, if you go here, there it is. All right, so this is the article from the New Republic. He says, Malcolm Ferguson says, Doge's Big Balls was beaten up. And and Musk is already lying about it. Elon Musk is spinning a strange lie about a bloody attack on former Doge member Edward Korestein, aka Big Balls. Make that a little bigger so you can read along. Elon Musk appears to be greatly exaggerating the extent of the attack on former Doge staffer Edward Korestein, aka Big Balls, who was jumped in Washington, D.C. earlier this week. The billionaire claimed that Korestein heroically stopped a gang of about a dozen men from assaulting a woman in her car at night. He said Korestein ran over to defend the woman and saved her in spite of being severely, and he puts in quote, severely beaten up to the point of concussion. Musk ended his retelling by calling for federal government to take control of D.C. And by the way, Congress controls D.C.'s budget, so that totally can happen, and I think it should. Trump used the attack on Big Balls to echo the same inaccurate, made-for-Fox News sentiments, calling for the federal takeover of D.C. and the mass criminalization of mostly working-class Black and Latino children. There we go. That's when you know a journalist sucks and has no creativity, low IQ. When they fall back on race, 3 paragraphs in, they have not done research. Public education has failed them, clearly. When you have to fall back on race, yeah, sorry. That quickly. Now, it's a fact that whether it's 2 people or 10 people, they jumped Big Balls and this woman, or jumped this woman and then Big Balls got jumped. They are, in fact, criminals. Okay? It doesn't matter. He's saying in the mass criminalization of mostly working class Black and Latino children. Let's just talk about that mass criminalization thing. Okay? They criminalize themselves by doing criminal things. It's not like the people that get arrested when they jump a person and carjack them are being unfairly treated. They just broke the law. And they broke the law in our capital. This shouldn't be happening. I mean, you saw what happened in Moscow in like 2022. There were these idiots, immigrants. I think they're not Ukrainian, but there were some immigrants from somewhere. And I saw this thing where these D-bags put out like the eternal flame that burns outside the Kremlin. Their asses got, pounded by the cops, and then that sounded wrong. You know what I mean? They got beat up by the cops, rightfully so, and deported right away. Okay? I don't care if you like Russia or not, but that is good, effective policing. He goes on, this Malcolm Ferguson. Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. He's quoting Trump. Local youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens. I don't know why he capitalized citizens. Let's see, low IQ. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting with at age 14. Trump wrote Tuesday. Oh, sorry, Trump doesn't have a low IQ. He might have put citizens as capital. I apologize. On Truth Social, Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run the city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have had to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize this city. I don't know the precedent there, but I agree with everything Donald Trump said. I don't know why Malcolm Ferguson, who's from Maryland, who knows D.C., he knows the crime, is kind of pointing out like what President Trump said was bad. What did he say here? He said, want a safe and clean, beautiful for Americans, yes, and for the world to see, absolutely. If D.C. doesn't get its act together, federal control, yep. Put criminals on notice. They're not going to get away with it anymore. Great. Should have been done a long time ago. There's tons of random stuff in DC, even in the best of times. Like DC after like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, no one actually lives in DC that works in DC. it's kind of weird. It kind of becomes a weird ghost town, and then the riffraff begins. And trust me, I know. Like, I was at the zoo. It's like just a couple quick pedals downtown. So then this young man, Malcolm Ferguson, says, neither of these highly dramatized accounts aligns with the Metropolitan Police Department's report. Pay attention here. While Trump and Musk claimed a brutal assault involving a gang of men, the MPD reported an unarmed carjacking with only two 15-year-old suspects detained, a girl and a boy. Okay, so this Malcolm, maybe he's not as smart as he thinks he is, because you see what he's doing here? First of all, he got that one wrong. Trump clearly said 14, 15-year-olds. Okay, I don't know exactly what Musk said. That doesn't matter. But then he says the MPD reported an unarmed carjacking with only 15-year-old suspects detained. Okay. They didn't report an unarmed carjacking. That's what the two suspects that they detained were charged with. Okay. So you see the way he does that, but one thing I'll give this guy credit for, he knows that people don't pay attention to detail, except if you're in this audience. Now this idiot goes on to say, fear-mongering and hyperbole are common tactics for Trump and other conservatives, especially around... hold on. Okay. I'm just checking his spelling, and his grammar sucks. But Washington, D.C.'s unique non-state status has emboldened the president. He should have had president capitalized, as he has hinted at taking over the city countless times before. No, he said they're going to federalize it. That's not the president taking over the city. That's the federal government taking over the city. And it's kind of, they control the budget, so they kind of control it anyways. Everyone deserves to feel safe in the city they live in, but big balls getting mugged is not a valid excuse to start rounding up kids and revoking the little autonomy the city has. So I don't even know what this idiot is thinking. I guarantee if he lives in D.C., Malcolm Ferguson, I know he's from Maryland, but D.C., Maryland, they're all like very close to each other. Sometimes you don't even realize you're in Maryland when you cross over. But him saying that this is fear-mongering. No, Ferguson. Fear-mongering is when you say... that Trump is the one to fear because he wants to clean up the city, but you're trying to spin it as some sort of dictatorial power grab. That's fear-mongering, okay? That's what fear-mongering is. What President Trump is proposing is called, what do you call that? Good program management. Had you gone to any business courses, you might know what program management is. Clearly, you don't know a lot about anything unless it gets you paid. So anyways, and who is Malcolm Ferguson? So I did look him up. Of course, everyone wants to be the next Che Guevara in their picture. This is Malcolm Ferguson. And he just, honestly, this guy, he could be any left-wing journalist. Just they're so replaceable. That's why they're so Marxist and communist in their nature. The individual doesn't matter. Like Malcolm Ferguson, no one will remember this guy because he writes and he presents himself in the same way that all the other neo-Marxists do. It's like they're bad, and the masses are good. And of course, par for the course, New Republic, his work can also be read in The Atlantic and The American Prospect. Of course, it can be read in The Atlantic because those are the global neo-Marxists. Anyway, so I had to respond to him. Couldn't resist that. And all right, so, and I normally don't do this, but you see, first of all, you see big balls there, and it's like, he got really, really messed up. He could have been dead, and that happens all the time. I said, and the award for dishonest, manipulative, and poorly written journalism goes to Malcolm Ferg in his article in the New Republic. By the way, I hope I don't have any spelling mistakes in here myself because I was pretty tired this morning when I wrote this. He accuses Real Donald Trump and Elon Musk of exaggerating in their account of the attack on Edward Korstein, a.k.a. Big Balls. BB was attacked by 10 thugs in D.C. who wanted to carjack him. He pushed his lady out of the way. I capitalize lady. I always do. That's my thing. Out of the harm's way and got brutally beaten. However, little Malcolm Ferguson wants you to believe it was only 2 younger teenagers. He thinks he's clever when he writes, the MPD reported an unarmed carjacking with only 2 15-year-old suspects detained, a girl and a boy. Well, Malcolm is a liar, and not even a good one. Below is what the DC Police Department actually reported. Let me go down there and just read that to you. So here's what was actually reported. This is from the DC website. If you go there, the link is in the alt text. Metropolitan Police Department announces the arrest of 2 suspects in an attempted unarmed carjacking in Northwest. Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, at approximately 3 a.m., the suspects approached the victims who were standing next to their vehicle in the 1400 block of Swan Street, Northwest. The suspects demanded the victim's vehicle and then assaulted one of the victims. During the assault, an MPD cruiser pulled into the block, causing the suspects to flee. 2 of the suspects were apprehended by the on-scene officers. Okay, so Malcolm, English 101 here for you. When you say 2 of the suspects, that means there's other suspects. They only got 2 of them. Had they said the 2 suspects, then you can make the argument there are not more of them. Maybe they don't teach at I don't know journalism school anymore, just basic grammatical structure. But 2 of the suspects means there's more suspects. But it gets a little easier for you, Malcolm. One of the victims was treated on the scene by DC Fire and EMS for injuries sustained in the assault. A 15-year-old juvenile male and a 15-year-old juvenile female. I mean, DC, I'll never besmirch cops, but I don't think you need to say juvenile if they're 15. Of Hyattsville, Maryland, were arrested and charged with the unarmed carjacking. So that's where you got the unarmed from. 2 people were arrested and they were charged with unarmed carjacking, whereas Malcolm had said that the police reported that it was an unarmed carjacking. We don't know if it was armed or not. It doesn't matter really if you get attacked by a bunch of people. Yeah. This case is under investigation by MPD's carjacking task force, which comprises MPD detectives and agents of the FBI Washington field office. Multiple suspects remain outstanding. Anyone who has knowledge of this incident should take no action but call police at 202-727-9099 or text your tip to the department's text tip line at 50411. All right, so it says it right in the reporting. Did this kid think we weren't going to read the DC report? Does anyone even trust anyone anymore? You shouldn't. Especially not, I'm sorry, anyone from the New Republic or the Atlantic, for Christ's sake. So I went on and I got lecturing because I haven't lectured in a while, so I felt like lecturing. This guy definitely needs a lecture. So I said, Malcolm, let me just say, nice try, D-bag. By the way, to all the other thugs out there in D.C., the cops are offering a $10,000 reward for anyone who provides info that leads to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for a violent crime in D.C. And I went on to say, as none of you have any honor, loyalty, ethics, morals, ambition, or prospects, might as well rat out your buddies and make a little coin. Giddy up, scumbags. And I leave the number down there. And I guarantee someone's going to be calling on someone because it's $10,000. They probably will never get it, but they're going to do it anyways because, that's what they do. They're criminals. Malcolm, don't misquote official press releases and stop writing propaganda for the man. In other words, stop being a sellout. Big insult for him. You're young and don't seem completely stupid, so there's still a chance you can someday become a man and one with integrity. Do better. Okay. And just here he is here. And this is really sad. Okay, and I'm not empathizing with Malcolm. I think he just, like, people need to read more, I think, is the problem here. But I will say this. People like Malcolm, people I know from New York City, they're born into this propaganda. They're raised in it. They don't know anything else. Now, they should try to learn. Of course, sometimes if you don't know something exists, how are you going to learn about it? But the point is, it's like being raised in rural, parts of the Midwest. Like, you only know one view of the world, and that's what I see here. And Malcolm seems to have grown up in a middle class neighborhood, but the point is, when that's all they see, that's what they know, and it's very rare when you see people really make that shift. I mean, but that is only an excuse you can use up until you're 18, in my opinion, up until you're out of public school. Once you're out of public school, you're out of mom and dad's house or mom's house or dad's house. It's on you. It's on you to learn about the world. Okay. It's not on anyone else to teach you. Public school's supposed to do that. They fail at it miserably. So I empathize with the fact that Malcolm here was probably raised to believe all these idiot things he says. I went through his muck rack. It's pretty much everything's about Donald Trump. He used to write actually a pretty cool thing about culture, about different, indie, R&B groups and stuff, but too bad. I guess he gave up his dream. But the thing is, he needs to learn. And all these young journalists, they're missing the opportunity, because look at Scott Jennings on CNN. Why is Scott Jennings so popular? I think he's pretty hilarious. I think he's very smart. I like his presentation, but it's not like he's doing anything that's totally extraordinary. But you know what he is doing on CNN? He's being honest. And I think these young journalists are missing their opportunity. Instead of going with the constant message grifting that they're doing all the time, the first young journalist on the left who is honest and very vocally honest, they might get fired or they might become celebrities. And that's what they should remember. They're missing the market opportunity here. Okay. So I won't show you the bloody picture of Big Balls. You can look it up yourself. I think it's really terrible what happened to him, and no one should be celebrating it. No one should be celebrating any time anyone gets beat up by a mob of idiots. I'm glad he's okay, and, he definitely has my respect. So good job, Big Balls, defending your lady. I like it. Good for you. It takes a lot of guts. A lot of people would have cowered, and we've seen them cower. So, he's awesome. All right, so here is let me take some comments now because I've been rambling on. See, I told you. I get on these and I love. Okay, Blue Wolf, I swear to God, if you say Mrs. Bryan, she's going to lose her stuff. I'm just messing with you. He's talking about my wife, Naomi Wolf. Don't feel it, but sometimes people call me Mr. Wolf. It's pretty funny. So sorry, got a duck. No, I totally understand. It's totally late. I'm just trying to get back in the habit of doing the show again. Yeah, I'm getting this a lot. So guys, I'll check I've had some connection issues. Sorry about that. Truth Matters. Thanks for being here. Head an hour south. I got a bunch of hydrate. That is Cousin Ernie. Good to see you. And JD Chantel. Good to see you as well. We'll put up the recording. I don't know. There's something tricky going on with my internet lately. I think I'll probably have to get a new computer here soon. I am up in the Hudson Valley, so it's nothing. The infrastructure up here is terrible. Okay, look, the final thing we're going to talk about tonight, okay, is, I got to say, and let me just preface this by saying I'm going to piss a lot of people off. Now, I'm not making any accusations. I'm certainly not accusing anyone of anything or saying that anyone's doing anything wrong, but I'm seeing a monopoly set up here coming out of HHS. Let me just put it on here. And I actually came across this, and I look, I'd heard about it, but bear in mind, I remember Naomi had me on her show. We were on In the Lair, and she said, "Hey, do you want to talk about Casey Means, who is the new Surgeon General pick under RFK over at Health and Human Services?" And this is like 8 weeks ago, maybe. And I said, I don't really know who that is. And she's like, honey, you kind of know this is our job to know. Now, of course I do, because, I've did some research, but at the time I was on China and all that. So anyways, I came across this article in the New York Times, July 18th. And I do read all the newspapers. So if anyone wants to, every now and then some new people get on here and say, why are you reading that? You got to read all of it. You got to see other messaging. That's why you got to look at all sources. Okay. But here's what we got. Share that tab instead. There we go. All right. So the article is titled, "A Kennedy AIDS Startup Can Get You a Tax Break on a $9,000 sauna." Not a really catchy headline. And then I started reading it, and it said the startup called TrueMed helps people buy meat and mattresses with money that isn't subject to federal income tax. But does the tax break apply? Let me explain to you what's going on here. TrueMed helps supply people with letters attesting to their medical need for products like bone broth powder, headphones, and hot dogs. Now, these two knuckleheads are really kind of dumbing down what he's, what they're talking about. But it's not incorrect from my read on it and from my research on it. So they're talking about an insomnia diagnosis yielded a recommendation for a 5-pack of beef hot dogs. Okay, I'd have to look into that if that's true. An acne diagnosis brought a medical note proposing that the condition be treated with classes at mixed martial arts gym. Decades-old arm fractures earned a nurse practitioner's order to buy a kettlebell from Nike. And because a medical provider has blessed the purchases, they came with the promise of a major perk. People could buy them using money not subject to federal income taxes. That is the daring new world of American medical spending that TrueMed, a 3-year-old wellness company, is trying to build. Its co-founder, Callie Means, has rocketed to the upper reaches of power in the healthcare system as the right hand of Health Secretary RFK Jr. And by the way, it's totally coincidental that John Cusack and the Grifters almost looks exactly like him, but just realize that now. All right, so I won't read through the whole thing, but basically, let me explain to you what you're reading here. So anyone that's ever worked in like a corporate job or any job with decent benefits, they have FSA, which is flexible spending. Okay, and what that is that allows you to put away so much money a year that is taxed. It's coming off your gross income. So you can put like $1,000, $2,000 away, and that comes off your gross income, thus reducing your taxes, as long as you spend that money on FSA or flexible spending approved products. It's typically for things like medical related, like real medical related, like a doctor's visit, a psychiatrist, something like that. That's what it's typically been. What's happening here from my read on this and some of the research I've done recently is it seems that TrueMed is getting these companies basically the authorization to be on the list. Like people can basically get a letter saying, hey, it's okay if I buy the beef hot dogs to help my insomnia. And they put that on their flexible spending. Hey, look, I'm all for it. I don't like taxes and all that. Here's the problem I have is this guy, Callie Means, is in one of the most powerful positions you can be in Health and Human Services. He's the what they call the special employee. Basically, he's a White House appointee and he works directly for RFK Jr. as his aide. He also appears to be a bit of a gatekeeper on which companies get to sell their stuff under flexible spending. Basically, this company you could use your flexible spending for, but not this one. So it says here, TrueMed, whose other co-founder Justin Mares also started companies selling supplements and bone broth, typically earns fees from its products from its product vendor partners. The company said it facilitated roughly 500,000 letters last year. So what does that mean? That means they help companies get approved to be flexible spending purchases for their customers. That's a huge market advantage. Look, if Cali Means wasn't in the position he's in, like his sister's going to be the Surgeon General, if he wasn't in that position, I'd say, okay, good, go make your money, man. That's good idea. But he's a special government employee, or an SGE, in the Trump administration. And it's a big problem because bottom line is this. This seems like a major conflict of interest to me, and I am for sure looking into this, because I would imagine to get on that list, to get approved, it gives Cali Means a lot of influence over a lot of businesses across the country. It also makes a lot of what's going on seem very disingenuous over there at HHS. For instance, you see all this talk about like food dyes and all this, all important. But there is a strategy that I've noticed in the messaging coming out of HHS that I like to call, well, I don't like to call it. Actually, I heard Sasha Latapova, who I have a great deal of respect for. She mentioned this is called the ABV strategy, anything but the vaccines. Okay, and I know there's a little progress on mRNA today, but I haven't looked into it. But basically, look at this one. TrueMed also rejected some of the reporter's qualification requests, including for letters backing purchases of... So yeah, what happened here was a secret shopping thing. Okay. A foot injury from years earlier, earned a letter of medical necessity for a standalone pool for cold plunges. The insomnia diagnosis led to letters suggesting the condition be ameliorated with products like an alarm clock, headphones, and ground beef. When a reporter tried buying a water filter, TrueMed asked if he had any number of diagnoses, including mitigation of contact with water pollution. The reporter clicked it, wanted to get contact with water pollution, and soon received a letter listing the same phrase as his medical condition. So, it basically adjusted so he could buy the product. TrueMed also rejected some of the reporter's qualification requests, including for letters backing purchases of Plant Strong Foods products and climbing gym membership. So I guess what I'm asking here is who gets on the A list, right? Like, who gets on that list? Is he the one deciding? Is TrueMed? I mean, you guys see my point here? So do I know much about what's going on? No, I don't. I mean, I started just reading on these guys because my wife embarrassed me when she said, honey, you should know more about them. But it's a conflict of interest. It has to be. Now, he is allowed to keep his TrueMed company open as a special government employee. That is true. But it's an outsized amount of influence over private markets. And if you really think about it, okay, what's really going on over there? Over at HHS, I think they're doing some good things. I don't know. I will say this, as I watch what's happening, and I watch that TrueMed has these companies all over the country that are on the TrueMed list, and you can find them by simply just Googling, those with the extension of TrueMed. Well, let me show you. So the point is, they're all over the country. There's CrossFit is eligible. There's different gyms are eligible. So what's really weird about that to me is they seem to be really kind of creating a network of people that in my opinion, and based on these Maha like weekly calls I get on to listen, sounds like they're building a get out the vote type of bit of a little army there. Okay. Why would they want to do that? Maybe it's because they want Kennedy to be in the White House in 2028. Not with my tax money. Okay. Not at the cost of having fair markets. Okay. If that is what is happening. If you go here, okay, so that's basically what you want to type in. Okay. Something like that. But you see TrueMed partnership. It's right there. Okay. These are all the details on it. But the amount of companies, it's just like how can these companies not owe this guy a favor? I'm not saying they are, and again, this is me just spitballing here, not accusing anyone of anything, but as a guy who studied white-collar crime in my graduate work and also worked white-collar crime as both a private investigator and also in certain parts of the intelligence community, and also doing M&A and exit type due diligence work for some pretty massive firms, this is a huge red flag to me. You got a guy in a powerful position in our government who is kind of the de facto gatekeeper on who can designate certain companies can be used for flexible spending. It's a major conflict of interest. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care who yells at me and says I'm unpatriotic, whatever. That's it. And, then you got to ask yourself, where the hell did this guy come from? He's been kind of bouncing around D.C. for quite some time. His sister, Callie, or Casey, dropped out like in her second to last year of like her residency as, Stanford type of doctor. That's weird. And she also has a business too that is still in play. And then also, let's not forget that Maha Inc. has been, there's a copyright on that. There's IP already attached, and you could go check it out. We'll have to do a show on that. So again, I'm not one of these people to try to like undermine anyone who's in power. That's certainly not what I'm about. But to me, this looks like a bit of a grift. And I said it in the lair. I said, I think Callie Means is in DC to grab DC by the ankles, hold it upside down, and shake out all its loose change. I don't want what's going to be left behind from this. I don't want this company to have so much power. It's a monopoly, and that's exactly what's happening here. And I think this is a major concern. I think everyone should be looking into it. It's nothing against RFK or Maha or anyone. But the fact that no one's talking about this, everyone's celebrating this, like, oh, great. It's not great. It's un-American. And yeah, so that's the bottom line. The subject line is, I think TrueMed is forming a monopoly. And I also think the TrueMed network can easily be activated as a get out the vote type of polling, go vote for RFK in 2028 network. That's all fine and good, but not with our taxpayer money, and not, we don't want those kind of practices going on, because that's exactly what the left does. Don't forget that Jennifer Psaki door knocking campaign to get like awareness about the vaccines out. Those were all pollsters, okay, for the DNC. This seems like they're doing the same model. Okay. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm just throwing it out there. Just so you guys know, I'm in the process of starting a nonprofit. We're doing due diligence against every public company we can find. Any lead that comes in, if it's viable. No, we're not going to do it against like, the UN. But we're starting that. That's happening. Okay. And we already have a lot of people very interested in what we're doing, both good and bad. So look for that announcement. Working with a great guy right now. We've been working hard, so I've been kind of off the radar. Can't really talk about it here because I don't want Daily Clout in any way, or my wife, Naomi Wolf, in any way to be affiliated with this. There's no ties or anything like that. That's why I won't promote it here. But just follow my social media. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's going to be big. It's going to be I don't know. It's just we kind of, the reason I'm doing it is because those stories I told you in the beginning about the precious metals company and some of these other things, some of these online pharmacies. I really feel bad for the people that get victimized by these companies. I really feel bad for any company that is not potentially making the right political donation and therefore doesn't get on the FSA list. I feel bad for the old couple that sees disabled veteran on a company and gives away their retirement to go invest in gold, and then these people make off with it. I don't care who they vote for. I don't care if they're Trump supporters or Biden supporters. That's what due diligence is. We look at everything, the good and the bad, and you're going to see it all. Okay, and sure they're going to try to sue us. We already have a law firm on hand, but the point is, I'm kind of tired of just like getting mad about it, and this is my way of using my skills and my experience to really, really do some good. So think of it like a vicious version of Consumer Reports on steroids. Vicious but fair. If you're doing the right thing in your business, I don't even care if you got rainbow flags on your business or you got MAGA flags. Don't care. If you're legal, you're compliant, and you're not lying. Okay, you're not lying, or you're not wittingly selling people things that can hurt them or hurt them financially or hurt their lives or hurt their health. If you're not doing those things, it's going to reflect, but we're going to show it all. Okay. And that's what due diligence is. Everything you collect, put into and, verified, analyzed, and then shared, because people need to know what they're getting involved in before they give away their money or their savings or their vote or their lives. Okay, and that's what we aim to do. We'll talk about that on another channel. All right, guys. So those are the scams or potential scams we were talking about tonight. I think it's important to investigate all these things. First of all, you're going to feel a lot better, okay, than when you get screwed over. Second of all, if everyone's doing this, and I've said this since the beginning of the show, when I started this show, the entire point of this show is to investigate everything. Not me investigate everything. All of us investigate everything. Because if we have a country, okay, that businesses know, damn, they're going to investigate everything, I better not screw around or I'm going to be the next headline, or the next person holding up my right hand in court before I go to jail for corporate fraud or white-collar crime. If every business that sets up shop knows that's how it is, call me naive, but I think they're going to kind of lean into, okay, let's be compliant, because this country runs great when people follow the rules and don't try to get over. Things don't end well for John Cusack in that movie, trust me. And so that's why we're doing this, and that's why I wanted to talk about this today. So you see, you've got the person texting me. By the way, that's from the Philippines. Got that person texting me. You've got people lying and race baiting and hate baiting. They're Malcolm Ferguson. All the things we cover tonight, and these things have got to stop. And they're not going to stop through legislation. They're not going to stop based on who's in the White House. They're going to stop when we want them to stop. And I want them to stop, and that's why I'm taking it up a notch. Let's just put it that way. This show will continue, but I won't cross-pollinate the cases. I'll continue with these cases. They're just as important. And if they start veering into each other, as all things do, we'll figure that out along the way. So in the meantime, go to my X. You could figure out what I'm talking about. It's going to be great. We've been working super hard. That's why I was so tired the other night. And thank you, Blue Wolf, for mentioning I was tired. I was really tired. But that's what we're doing. So look for the scams, report the scams, and make people famous if they try to scam you. Carry around your portable recording devices as much as you can. Try to get everything. You can't always hold up your phone. Yes, I know a lot of stuff is from China, but like I always keep something like this around. That is a clip-on little kind of body cam. Record everything, collect everything, share everything, and let's make sure we investigate everything, because that's the only way we're going to ever really have freedom and keep freedom. So this has been Brian O'Shea. I really appreciate you coming out here. I will work on that sound Truth matters. And you have a great day. More to follow, and thank you all. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere, but I'm going to be busy, and it's for the right reasons. So have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon.